As we prepare to celebrate Purim this year, surrounded by friends and family, our world has been turned upside down by war. Some 2.5 million Ukrainian refugees, including thousands of Jews, find themselves far from home, trying to pick up the pieces of their lives. For some, Purim this year may feel anticlimactic, subdued, even depressing. Last year, amidst a global pandemic, some of my students expressed concern that Purim was going to be a downer. They asked, "Rabbi, how can we celebrate Purim when our whole world has been turned upside down by this pandemic?" I answered at the time that this may be the first real Purim many of us have ever experienced. True, we may not deliver as many mishloach manot or imbibe as much wine, but we may finally imbibe the true meaning of the holiday. Purim celebrates a miraculous salvation that took place over 2,000 years ago in the great Persian Empire, but its message is as relevant today as ever. Purim literally means a lottery, a reference to the lot that the wicked Haman drew. The name of the holiday itself implies fate and chance, the roll of the dice, the luck of the draw. At first glance, the story of Purim appears to be a series of strange coincidences strung together. The carefully woven fabric of the narrative is written like a great piece of classical literature. You have your heroes and villains, high drama and suspense, climax and denouement. The plot thickens with all of its twists and turns. But behind this storybook drama lies something profound. According to Rav Soloveitchik, one of the lessons of the Purim story is that man is vulnerable. One minute, everything is fine. The Jewish community lives comfortably, in safety and security, in prosperity and with prominence, and then suddenly, without warning, the Jewish people across the entire empire are confronted with the threat of destruction, a final solution. Esther is one of the books in our Bible, but God's name is not mentioned, not even once. According to our tradition, he is hiding. The Talmud asks, where is there an allusion to Esther in the Torah? And I will surely hide my face from you. The Talmud cites a verse that speaks of Hester Panim, God seemingly hiding his face amidst suffering. And yet, there's a tradition that in the book of Esther, the word Hamelech, the king, is an allusion to God, the King of Kings. On Purim, we are challenged to see God, the king, in the narrative. He appears to be hidden, but in reality, he's pulling the strings behind the curtain. The name of the book itself, Megillat Esther, can be understood to mean revealing the hidden. But it's not enough to see God in the Purim story. We are challenged to see God in the story of our lives, in our personal lives and in our national life, in our trials and tribulations, the vicissitudes of life, the ups and downs. We're even challenged to see God's hand in tragedy and in human history as it unfolds before our very eyes. This Purim marks 2 years since we became aware of the severity and the unfolding tragedy of the pandemic. 2 years ago, almost overnight, our world was turned upside down. Suddenly, everything changed. It's been 2 years behind masks, isolated and alienated, 2 years of uncertainty, feeling vulnerable with things out of our control. But Purim is a topsy-turvy day when everything is upside down. It's a day when we recognize that we are indeed vulnerable, and that what appears to be within our control is only an illusion. We put on masks to remind us that to truly see is to peel back the layers of perception. We drink in excess to access a deeper reality, one behind or beyond logic or reason. We recognize that redemption can come in places that we least expected, and that the plans and schemes of our enemies can be foiled just as quickly as they were hatched. Being human, we're very limited in our ability to truly understand. Tragic events seem senseless without rhyme or reason. World events can be confusing with the future uncertain. But on Purim, we recognize that God's hand is guiding it all. The King is working behind the scenes, pulling the strings. We may not understand all of the twists and turns of the plot, but we know the author. All we have to do is put our trust in him, and that is certainly something worth celebrating. Purim Sameach from Yerushalayim.